Okay. Oh, man, I think we're here. Are we in the internet, Aubrey? I think we're
I
here.
think we are. I think we finally made it to the internet.
Yes. It's about time. You know what I
I
mean?
know. Waiting for this day my whole life.
Absolutely. It feels good. It feels
It
good. I feel
feels good
different,
here.
you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone to another week of LinkedIn Lives with your favorite home care franchise or a place at home. My name is Mitch Benson. I've been with you for a few weeks now, and I'm the franchise development manager here at a place at home. But I am joined by a new guest, Aubrey. Aubrey, tell the people who you are.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Phillips. I am the franchise business coach here at A Place at Home headquarters.
Nice. Well, that's wonderful. Well, hey, I think that you're just the person to talk to here because today, right, we wanted to add value to all of our listeners, whether they're potential candidates for franchise business ownership, maybe they're home care business owners now, or others, in the industry. We wanted to essentially give some tips here and talk about how to get clients for your non-medical home care business. Aubrey, would you say you work with that topic every now and again?
I mean, occasionally it doesn't come up a lot,
Yeah.
but no, of course, yeah, it's just like, something that we work on a lot. Obviously,
Mhm.
I for the majority of the people that I coach are new franchisees just coming into this space and into this industry. So we talk a lot about how to get home care clients for their locations and how to make that happen for them. So quite a bit,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. No, and it's huge. It's something that we ask all the time. Whatever business that you're thinking of is, well, how do I get my clients, my customers, whoever, I can serve and make an impact for, right?
Mhm.
And so when we think about this in home care, sometimes it's not as obvious as maybe how to get your clients there or get in front of folks who you can make an impact to. But by the end of today's LinkedIn Live, we will know all of the key strategies to get it done, right?
Yeah, well, maybe not
Right.
all of them, but a good
Maybe
bulk
not.
of them.
We'll see where we go. Maybe we hit it all. But Aubrey, as we're thinking about this, and as you and I were talking before this LinkedIn Live, something occurred to me before we get into strategies of specifically how, right, to get clients for your non-medical home care business. Something that occurred to me that needs to be addressed, I think, in this conversation, and that's the mindset that we need to put
Mhm.
ourselves in to really give ourselves a chance at making a difference in our clients' lives, right?
Yeah.
When I think about it, there's just a million ways to sell something, right? It's just that when we think about home care, it doesn't quite feel right to think that you're selling something, right?
Mhm.
This is a widget. Do you want it? Sure, here you go, right? It just doesn't feel right. Right. And as we thought about that, there must be another mindset. Would you agree? You just got to kind of put on a different hat when you're thinking about this?
Yeah, most definitely. I would say, especially in this space, though, I do love a good widget, Mitch. I do love a good widget.
Exactly.
Um, that's not what we do here, and I think mindset is really, really important. In fact, a lot of the franchisees that I talk to when they first get into this, and myself included, back when I was doing sales, that sales mindset is not necessarily the way to approach
Mhm.
getting clients in this space. Really, the mindset really comes from a place more of how can we be of service.
Mhm.
You really want to be thinking about how you can provide the best outcomes for the families and individuals that you're talking to. That's
Mhm.
going to serve you much better as a mindset than how many sales can I make. That's not
Yeah.
really what this is. So
Right. Can I get
yeah.
a signature? Can I cash in a PO? Like it's not that way, right? And when I think of that, yeah, it's exactly what you said, right? It's thinking of how can you offer positive outcomes for your clients,
Mhm.
right? Um, right. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what I think of and how that comes across to me.
Yeah, I think the way that I always approach it and the way that I coach people to approach it is how can you provide the most value
Hmm.
when you're interacting with clients and families. So
Yeah.
not so much like how many hours do you need, but where are you in your aging journey? Where
Yeah.
is it that you want to be, and how can I or we, help you to get there? That's
Hmm.
probably the biggest piece there, because I mean, we want to meet people where they are on this
Yeah.
aging journey,
Hmm.
and help them get to where they want to go. And that's different for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just having a conversation with some folks just the other day of, there's a lot of services that are available to a specific
Hmm.
client. We have a lot here,
Yeah.
in what we do at a place at home
Hmm.
that could work specifically for them. But
Hmm.
maybe they either need different services, they need more. We don't know that until we start to have that
Hmm.
consultation, right?
Yeah.
Asking those kinds of questions and really, like you said, understanding where our clients are, right? What do they need here, and how do we get them to that best outcome, right? um, I love it, and I love too that you can kind of be that consultation opportunity for a family really to wrap their heads around what they need, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, most
Mhm.
definitely. I mean, we do, you know this, Mitch. We do have several service lines. The bulk of what we do, obviously, that
Mm,
we can offer is that one-on-one care, but we have a couple of other service lines that are not quite that. And even in some cases, we might not be the best answer for the outcomes they're looking
mhm.
for. But I
Yeah.
think that going back to that, looking for the best possible outcomes for families and seniors is being sure that we're a resource also, right?
Mm,
So if we're
mhm.
talking to somebody and maybe what we have to offer isn't going to be the best situation for them, depending on what their situation is, that we're still able to help them get to whatever their end goal is by being a resource for them in this space.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When I hear that, it sounds like kind of being in a position to really offer a lot of solutions.
Mhm.
And hey, maybe part of that's us. That'd be great. Like you mentioned, a place at home can offer staffing solutions as a B2B area, a
Mhm.
placement service known as senior living alternatives, if that works best for our families. We also offer some care coordination. Right.
Yep.
If we really need that logistic service of understanding what your journey is like, all on top of a really solid home care service line. That's a lot
Yes.
of that's huge, right? That can
Mhm.
be a lot of what folks need for a long time, but that may change, right?
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and having that knowledge, having that kind of, I would say control and mastery of your environment, really gets us into, I think, the heart of what we need to talk about here, which is how to get clients for your non-medical home care business, right?
Mhm.
Knowing what services are out there and could play a part in the aging journey of your client is going to essentially be that flint rock or that fire starter to really get more people involved in the care of our clients, right?
Mhm.
And so those other businesses, right, those kind of other individuals become such a key avenue for home care businesses to get in front of clients, right?
Oh, yes.
I kind of approach it here as if we have a client here who needs more than we can provide, and
Mhm.
we know of somebody. Let's take that in a different way, where the other person we know has an interaction with a client, and this other business we may partner with knows about us, about
Mhm.
Mitch and Aubrey's a place at home, right? And
Right.
and they say,
They
we
follow
know these
us.
folks. It's yeah, exactly right, and maybe we should go give them a call, right?
Right.
And so in such case, that's our primary area of how to get clients for your non-medical home
Mhm.
care business, which
Yep.
is referral marketing, right?
Yes.
Now, I may have danced around a little bit on the specific definition, but for newcomers to our Tuesdays or to the home care industry at large,
Mhm.
Aubrey, can you kind of give me, a definition of referral marketing and what it is?
Yeah. So referral marketing, well, you refer to that. Really, it's more so building relationships, right? But it's
Mhm,
building relationships with other um, industry professionals, agencies, and others in this space who work with the same, aging community that we do, to help provide services beyond what they're able to provide, right? Because
mhm,
they they're able to provide a very specific set of services depending on what that is, right? Whether, and I think we'll get into this here in a little bit, but
mhm,
whether that's home health, hospice, etc.
right.
um, but
Mhm,
making sure that we have a partnership with them that is going to be advantageous for their patients when they're being discharged from their services. They come
mhm,
on to services with us. That's really what that referral marketing refers to, is building relationships with those people in that space that are literally making referrals post discharge from their services for further care one-on-one in the home.
Yeah, that's huge, right? It's
Mhm.
I've heard this more than once, and you've definitely confirmed it now. When we talk about referral marketing, maybe somebody's expecting some sort of like sales strategy, or this is the playbook that you have to do. But really, whenever I heard it all through this office of what referral marketing is, I'm usually given relationship building as the
Mhm.
answer. That's
Yeah.
just it. which isn't even really a market. That's not even like the point of signing a contract. It's
Right.
go to an individual and say, hey, how can we help you help what our mindset is? Give
Hmm.
positive outcomes to your clients, right?
Yeah.
Part of that could be what we do, right? And that makes sense. But I always kind of think about it, in the world of getting in front of people who can help positive outcomes for clients. Referral marketing, that's a big place here. But why is that important? Why do we need to think of building those relationships with other people in the space?
Well, mostly because they're the people that are in front of the people and
Mhm,
families that have a need, like the most, right? So of course, there's a whole population of individuals that are aging or are family caregivers, and nothing concrete has happened yet, right? To actually fully officially put them in this space, right? They haven't had a health crisis or anything like that. But there are a lot of individuals, unfortunately, that have had some sort of a health event, or maybe they've had a progressive disease process, whatever the case is, and they end up in the hospital, or something happens and they have to go to rehab, or they have to have rehab in their home, whatever the case is. And you know those are the individuals that they do what they're there to do, right? They help that person rehabilitate back to as much of their initial threshold of independence or quality of life or
mhm,
whatever it was as possible. But after that,
yeah,
there's generally still a need for some oversight or maybe some actual like physical support in some way. And
mhm,
it's up to them. They have a responsibility before they discharge them from services to ensure that that discharge plan is safe. There's a safe
mm,
plan of care. And a lot of times that means that you need to have some extra help, like in the
right.
home, even past these services. And so
Mhm,
that's why it's important to build
mm.
relationships with those people, because they are making those referrals. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge.
mhm,
I was listening, as we were kind of talking about this before, and that just it dawned on me, right? A lot of that what we're saying here, what I'm hearing you say is that our individuals are in the system, so to speak, right?
mhm,
They have had a health event that has now brought their home care needs to the forefront, right?
mhm,
Which is something that I talk to folks about kind of in my world of what this business looks like. When we talk about kind of name recognition or understanding what these brands are, and knowing one versus the other. And though that is important, and a lot of brands spend a lot of time being sure that they are top of mind for individuals, what we have found is that not everybody is thinking about this before they need it, right?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, mhm,
When you typically need home care, you needed it yesterday, right?
yes,
you know
yes,
and maybe we can change that. Maybe you and I can continue to do the good work of spreading this care for our generation, for family members we're thinking of, and maybe we plan ahead a little bit. But it's more of a reactionary service. Something
mhm,
has typically happened, they have now a health need, and there is a healthcare professional in our clients lives who is directly working with them, right?
yes.
And it's the business of creating that relationship with that healthcare professional so that we may be a resource to them and continue to help with positive outcomes for them down the line. Right?
Yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, most definitely. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Nice. Well, let's get some ideas here of what some of these professionals might be. Right?
yeah,
You and I go walking down the lane, and we're going to the
as we
referral
do.
marketing store. We do
Right.
often,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Typically
Frequent that
sunny.
store. Yep.
Exactly. We're headed to brunch, but before we're doing that, right, we need to go do some referral marketing. So we open up the referral marketing store doors, and there they are, all of our contacts, right?
Right.
Well, that typically doesn't work that way. So
That'd be lovely.
yeah, it's a shame, really. We should make that happen.
We should. Let's rewrite the book.
Right. So we're going to keep working on that. But what are the or who might we be thinking of if the brunch strolling down the lane project doesn't work yet?
Right.
Who might we be thinking of as far as examples of who solid referral marketing partners might be? Right. Who would you start
Um,
off with?
well, honestly, so overall, people in this space, professionals in this space, everybody is looking for, they should be, in my experience there, they're looking for a full continuum of care. Everybody wants the people and the families they work with to be able to leave the services that they're under and be successful going forward. And a lot of times, one of the first entities that you will see this happening with is home health, which
Mm,
a lot of times we hear in-home care and home health use interchangeably, but we are very, very different things. But we work very, very well together. There is definitely some solid partnerships that happen between a place at home and home health agencies across the nation so far in all of our locations. And um, the reason, well, I guess can I get
Yeah.
into the reason a little bit? Can I
Yeah.
dive in a little
Yeah.
bit, or yeah?
Exactly right, and I think this will kind of pave that too. Part of some previous LinkedIn lives too was kind of getting at the heart of that, right? Uh, what is the home care side of the fence that we all spend a lot of time in, and then what might be the home health side, or
Mm-hmm.
non-medical versus medical, non-skilled versus skilled.
Yep.
And in our experiences, perhaps the journey of our loved ones have moved pretty fluidly from one to the other. But when we get down to the services provided, the level of staff needed on either side of the fence, it
Mm-hmm.
makes a stark difference here, right? So exactly, if we can speak a little bit more about the definitional differences between the two, but maybe you'll get in a little bit of that here because of how well we might work with them for
Mm-hmm.
referral markets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and we do generally work very well together because with like home health, obviously, so that's physician directed care, right? So
Mhm.
they have a doctor's order, it's covered by insurance, etc. So they are with a client or a family, helping them to rehab, and there's a lot of modalities within that, but
Mhm.
that's for generally a pretty limited amount of time, like weeks at the most, before that order is done and finished with. And that person is probably doing far better by
Mhm.
then than they were when they first started, but they're probably not 100% back to that level of independence. Whether it is they still need help with bathing, or they still need encouragement to continue whatever therapies they were doing, whatever the case is.
Mhm.
And that's when generally home health will make a referral to a place at home, because when home health discharges, they want to make sure that that patient is going to continue their therapies and is going to continue to move forward. And
Mhm.
oftentimes we're in there at the same time, Mitch,
Mm.
as home
Right.
health. Yeah. So
Mhm.
because home health can be in there for weeks, but generally that's like 3 times a week for maybe an hour at a time.
Mhm.
And that's a very, very concentrated hour of work that they're doing with that individual.
Mhm.
Whereas we're able to really blanket our services and help that individual outside of those 3 hours a week. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's huge. You're painting a really strong picture for me that sometimes I get caught up in, and maybe some of our listeners and attendees think potentially the same way that I did, as if our care is just a continuum from one to the other, and in many ways that it is. But sometimes I think that eventually the chapter will close on our home care needs, and now we are in the world of skilled care, right?
Hmm.
Because our acuity has maybe grown, and then we never need home care again. We are now in the skilled care world, right?
Yep.
That's what we need there. And
Yeah.
sometimes that can happen, but it sounds a little different from what I've heard you say just right here. Whereas, maybe if we're using home care as a client, if our families have a business, perhaps like a place at home, taking care of their loved ones, there that's the continuum so far in non-medical care. But now a health event may come up where
Hmm.
we take something of a detour into more home health. That's a physician's directive, right?
Hmm.
That's what's happening now. It's a shorter period of time. There is an end goal in mind, right?
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, a lot of modalities there, right? Perhaps occupational therapy, some sort of therapy at the
Speech
end,
therapy.
wound
Hmm.
care, something like that. Like there is an end to it, right? And
Hmm.
so we've done this little detour. Maybe we brought home care along, like you mentioned. We're in the same
Hmm.
space at the same time, helping that client. But eventually, now the detour will end into home health. But then you mentioned it. We need to continue to encourage
Hmm.
safe living and healthy practices, and that can be where home care comes in to continue carrying that baton, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't
Yeah.
necessarily thought of it that way before, but I heard it as you were saying it. Am I on track with that? Kind of as a detour, we're coming back, and home care pulls us through.
Yeah, 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 most definitely. But the detour, so like the aging journey, right? That's verbiage here in this space. That's really what it is, right? Like it is
Mm,
a journey, and like any journey, like we might detour again, right? So
there it
we
is.
might detour again.
Yeah.
So if we're in the home, we're able to kind of see maybe those sharp turns that are coming ahead, right? And say,
Mhm.
whoa, 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 like maybe there is a need here for another little detour, because A, B, or C is happening. And that's beyond our scope. But again, our goal is to keep people at home and make sure that they have the best possible outcomes.
Mhm.
So you could probably guess this, Mitch, but when we're in the home,
Yeah.
when we're in the home and we see that something is going on, we then are able to pull in our partners, right? And
Mhm.
make a referral ourselves. So,
Right.
yeah. So, which
Oh
is
man.
why we
Yeah.
work so well together, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody has the same goal to keep people safe and at home. And we can only do that when we work together. That's
Yeah.
the best way to do
100%. It's just almost kind of what I'm hearing is the way to be a really strong, referral marketer, is, getting clients from your referral markets is to be the same to them,
it.
right? In
Oh,
this way, where home health could have been working in a certain modality here, and their detour is coming to an end, and they know Mitch and Aubrey is a place at home, and
hmm
bring us in to continue the home care journey with them. You're exactly right. Another detour may come up, and we can offer that referral potentially back to whoever we were working with
hmm
before, because they have a relationship. Maybe it's a new need that has come up
hmm
in their lives, but we have now had the chance to work with the client because of our referral markets, which is the
hmm
focus of today. But the best way to continue that, right, is then to focus on the outcome of our client. And if a new need arises, to be that referral market to another business. I
Yeah. Yep. Always be
Huge.
a resource. That's like
Yeah.
something I say all the time. Always be a
Yeah.
resource.
Right on.
Yep.
Well, you're being a resource to me. I'm learning stuff left and right out here, right?
Well, I'm happy to know
Yeah.
that.
And sometimes when we think of the journey, right? We think of how we're going here, and I'm also thinking of maybe multiple detours that are coming up in the
Mhm,
lives of our clients. We think of maybe another journey as well, right? Another partner we could potentially refer to or work with are our
mhm.
great partners in the hospice space,
Yes.
right? Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about how we might work with hospice?
I would love to. I could probably take another hour. Hospice is my favorite.
Let's
But I
go.
won't. I won't.
Okay. Okay.
So hospice again, that is, physician directed, et cetera. And the way that we're able to work with hospice, and actually why we should be working with hospice is because again, much like home health in a different way, but there are limitations to how often hospice is able to be in the home once
Mm,
somebody has entered into hospice services. And I won't get into the weeds here because that's not the service we provide. And I'm sure we have plenty of hospice partnerships that could speak on it far better than I could. But
mhm.
when somebody is transitioning towards their end of life, generally that becomes quite a heavy situation,
Mm,
not just for the individual, actually, maybe even more so for their family.
mm.
And that is really when the partnership between a place at home and hospice agencies comes into play. Because while hospice isn't able to be there all the time, the family and that individual generally, at least at some point, even if it's not till the very, very end, they do need support, usually around the clock, because family wants to be able to spend those moments as family, right? Like
Mhm.
not doing personal cares or things that
Yeah.
maybe they're not comfortable with, etc. And then we're able to step in there and be there with that family, and really exist in that space with hospice, though hospice always takes the lead in that situation. And alternatively, um,
Mhm.
if we have a lot of history with a lot of families where we were there from the very, very beginning when they just needed some light housekeeping a couple of times a week, all the way through, right? Like it's time to maybe start considering what quality of life is going to look like.
Mm.
And we do make those referrals, when it's necessary, because again, the best possible outcome for that individual is what we're after. And
Mhm.
sometimes more hospital stays, et cetera, that's not really the best possible outcome if that care can be provided and that person can be comfortable in their home.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. I just such a great position to be in as
Mhm.
potentially a business, right?
Yes.
Uh, because the heaviness of this phase of our journey is so big, right? I know some personalities can kind of just kind of bury their head in the to-do list that just needs, that's how they cope with it, and that's what we need to do. But I would say oftentimes our family members need to really experience their loved ones wholeheartedly in this final
Mhm.
step. um, and if we are, considering what those to-dos look like, it can be something that takes away from our enjoyment and experience of our loved one in that last space, right?
Mhm.
And perhaps being that individual, being that business relationship to a client and their families that suggest this is something we need to consider, right?
Mhm.
Can give us maybe the strongest position to introduce the family to new legs of their journey, right?
Mhm.
It could
Yep.
be this, is this something that's fast approaching? In some cases, it is, right? Is this something that is further off, and perhaps, like we say, a senior living alternative route into another living situation? Maybe that's
Mhm.
another road for them. But
Mhm.
in both ways, we're seeing what that looks like. And I think you've hit a through line here, right? That from home health and now into our second example of hospice,
Mhm.
typically the client's experience of those two referral marketing partners, it has a something of a time limit, right? It's,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
it's like you mentioned, home health. It's something of weeks, perhaps, and there's a
Mhm.
goal in mind.
Yep.
Other limitations exist in hospice, where
Yeah.
we may be quality of life, medication management at that time, and this our nurse maybe comes in for a little while, and then they leave. So we're going to be there for all the time in between, right?
Mhm.
And that's a really beautiful, I think, relationship that you've outlined between what hospice can offer clients and their families as a
Mhm.
positive outcome, and how maybe we can step in to help our family members stay that way and enjoy their loved ones in this last step.
Oh, yes, 100%. It's one
Yeah.
of the most rewarding ways to be in this industry. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's such a strong, position to be in here. But I also think too of places in this journey, right, where we're here maybe in final steps with clients too. But if we think of maybe our third way to work with individuals, our third
Mhm.
way to think of how we get clients in our non-medical home care business, it might be further earlier, perhaps in the journey, but the journey is still maybe several legs long for our clients. And this is in rehabs, right?
Yeah.
In
Yep.
rehabilitations, right?
Mhm.
Now you're almost in hospitals. You're kind of not. You're in this space here. Your client is probably thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've got to do a million things just to get home,"
And I
you
wanna
know,
go home is
and I
probably
want
what
to
they're
go home,
thinking.
and I don't want to
Yeah.
be here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, how do
Yeah.
I leave? So that when the discharge day comes up, they're not even taking pay. I mean, they're out, right?
Right.
But how now might we interact with a rehabilitation opportunity? What does that look like in home care?
Well, generally, most of the time, in home care specifically, those are direct discharges to home that we would be receiving. So if we are going, we're cultivating relationships with the social workers and the discharge planners in those rehabs,
Mm,
and they are heavily invested for a whole lot of reasons that I'm heavily invested in ensuring that that person discharges home under a safe plan of care
mhm,
and that they do not have an opportunity to readmit either to the hospital or have to go back to rehab. So
mm,
generally, they are discharged from those rehabs with the instruction that they need to have round the clock care. A lot of times it's round the clock care, at least for the first few weeks, to
mm,
make sure that things are going smoothly. And in that case, they can make a referral to a place at home. We go in, we're there for 24-hour care, but not only that, and this is important with both hospice, home health, and rehab, but I do want to stress part of that partnership and being a good referral partner is the communication that happens after that person is discharged home, because
ooh,
we have to remember that these are professionals, but we're working in an intimate family centered space, right? And so they're getting close, they're invested in how those things are going. And so once they're home and they've trusted us with that care, that we're following back up to like ensure, like, hey, Mrs. Smith is doing lovely since she's been home. The home health, that you sent is doing
mhm.
great, etc. So, but that's what that looks like being discharged from like a rehab facility. They've usually been there for weeks. They're very ready to go home, but it can be a
Yes.
little risky for them to be home just by
Mhm,
themselves. So then we can come in and help them stay
mhm.
there.
Absolutely. And this definitely reminds me of the home health conversation that you're having with me earlier, that
Mhm.
there's a directive, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And that directive maybe comes with something of a time limit too, right?
Hmm.
The investment made
Yes.
by our rehab partners is with a goal in mind, right?
Hmm.
We're here to get you to a place where you can safely go back home, right?
Hmm.
And so
And
we
not
have,
readmit.
and then not and safely stay there, right?
Yes.
Part
Hmm.
of that is what we're going to do here in rehab, right? Making sure that we give you everything you need to get ready. But then part of that is our directive that you take this the next step when you're at home, right? And
Hmm.
provide that resource for yourself. Um, so there's a lot of that directive there. And when you can share with maybe that partner that we could be part of that solution, right?
Hmm.
You're already telling folks that they need to have this kind of care at home. Well, Mitch and Aubrey's home care just came from the referral marketing store after brunch, and
Right.
here we are. We're ready to help this client.
I love that
But
store.
you also, this is a great story.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something too that I hadn't realized, which is the follow up piece, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So what you're saying is like when you have that opportunity to serve, rehab has introduced you to this client, and now you're working with them, helping them
Hmm.
here. Uh, you're saying to go back to that place or send them a note, keep them in the loop with how that client is doing. Is that right?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
almost like, for lack of a better verbiage, like passing the baton, right? Like
Yeah.
they have cared for this person and made sure that they've gotten to the point that they're able to go home, right? So like they've
Yeah.
raised this, right? I guess, for lack of a better term, and then they give it to you, and they're like,
Yeah.
take care of this. This is precious. We've done everything we can in the last 6 weeks,
Right.
and so most definitely, like, you're going to follow back up with them and let them know how things are going. Of course you
Hmm.
are, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's just it. And I would say that it makes sense here, but prioritizing that closing the loop aspect to this
mhm,
really kind of gives you that final opportunity with your referral source to say, hey, uh, it worked.
mhm,
You picked right. You're giving us the chance to work with our client now after having gone through rehab with you has resulted in again the fulfillment of our mindset, a positive outcome for our client, right?
mhm.
So hey, we're ready to do this for all of your referrals, right?
Yeah,
Or however we can. You now know that the journey can continue with us in a safe and positive way. We'd like to continue partnering with you, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah,
That's
most
huge.
definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
partnership piece that's a big part of it. Big part of it. I can't tell you how many families that we had under services way, way, way back, but they would call me because, somebody had gone to the hospital, and they would call me and they'd say, "Hey, like, they're saying that she has to go to rehab after this,
Yeah.
like, and we don't know anything about this. Like, do you
Mm,
know of places?" And because we were partners with those, people, we were able to give true
yeah.
recommendations based on our work with them. So,
Yeah.
it goes both ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like you're just like we know we have had this
Hmm.
experience. We can use
Yep.
names, we can use specific things like that, you know. and
Justin.
and we can really be that kind of person who definitely helps
Hmm.
a lot of this stuff. So I
Yep.
love that. I love that idea to be sure when we're thinking of, how to get clients for your non-medical home care business. It's not just one client. It's not just a first opportunity. It's not that
Mm.
way. It's about making sure that you are a part of that best outcome for your client, right?
Yep.
And if I'm thinking backwards in the world of rehab, it's by providing great service and communicating what has happened with the client that has
Hmm.
been referred to you, right?
Yep.
So that your partner knows, hey, it worked. We need
Mhm.
to call Mitch and Aubrey's a place at home because they did right by us in the previous time we worked with them. That's
Yeah.
excellent, right?
Yes.
And the hospice world, of course, is very family of oriented and making sure that they're taken care of, that we can fill in the spaces and be sure that our family feels like family as opposed to them doing a lot of work for their loved one in this final step of their journey,
Hmm.
right? That's how we get that opportunity to serve again. We'll make a dynamic duo with that hospice agency
Hmm.
the next time we have the chance to serve. And then finally is the detour of the home health when we have that chance where things need to be handled there. We can help that as well, right? And all of this will give us that chance for more opportunities to serve and ways to be even better solutions to our clients, right?
Yes.
This is
Oh, yes.
huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can learn all of that and more, right? By getting into the game and providing these kinds of services for your clients. Whether there's a lot of ways to do that. Of
Mhm.
course, the way that we do that is here at a place at home. in the franchise system, where you get to talk to me a little bit, and you get to talk to our in-between individual, which is Danny, and ultimately start working with Aubrey here on how
Yeah.
to develop specifically these services that we're talking about. And we've got a lot of interaction with some folks in our system today here in the chats on LinkedIn
Okay.
specifically, right? And we thank everybody for the conversations that you have with your clients, with their families, and we're thinking a little bit of taking this the next step further, because though what we've talked about today is incredibly important, right? It's we need to also think about how we get in front of great care staff, right? That
Mhm.
can make this happen, right?
That's how we make this happen.
That's
That
how we
is
do
the
it,
way that
right?
this happens. Yep.
That's just it, is learning about what our caregivers need from us, how they can be elevated into a place where they can shine, right, and make all of these referral opportunities work because of the excellent service that they give to clients, right?
Mhm.
And for more on that information, tune in next week to learn even more about how we take these same kinds of principles into how to build your care staff team, right?
Yeah.
In the meantime, if you just can't get enough of this, right, please visit a placeatHomeFranchise.com for a handy dandy blog that describes the 8 ways that to develop more clients for your home care business. You'll see a little bit of this on that blog as well. And with that, Aubrey, I think we did it. We did another Tuesday. How about it?
We survived the internet, Mitch.
We did it. Oh my gosh, I feel changed. Right. Well, thank you, Aubrey. I appreciate your time here
Yeah,
this
me
Tuesday
too.
afternoon. I wish you a
Mhm.
wonderful week, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Mitch.
All righty. Bye, everybody. No.
Bye.